Knowledge. It is a very, very special time. It's a special time of the week, and it is 9:15 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Every Thursday night, I have gone live in 2024. Something I am very proud of, just to talk about the one thing I love more than all others besides my family, and that is Pokemon. So, yeah, the title of this video is "No One Has Ever Gone Broke Taking Profits in Pokemon," and it's true. And what do I mean by that? I think there is definitely a hesitancy from a lot of people in this hobby. Is they buy stuff, but they're always so worried to sell it. And I think one of the tough problems that I know for a fact, I can say this with 100% certainty because I know for myself, is that sometimes when you have a lot of money tied up in different products, your available funds start to just dry up. And when your funds dry up, even though there might be other plays out there, you just don't end up making those buys because you just don't have the available capital. And I think very, very recently in this hobby, we saw a bunch of things happen consecutively. They like stacked on top of each other, and it's one of those very few times in this hobby where people don't really disagree on what was going to happen, and a lot of those were just Sword and Shield booster boxes going out of stock on Pokemon Center. It was as if a perfect storm lined up. Everybody was in agreement. It was one of those weird times in the hobby where everybody was very in agreement, like, hey, when these boxes go out of stock on Pokemon Center, they're gonna go up. And for some reason, like across the board, everybody agreed. But it was at the same time, when these went up, I feel a lot of people, myself included, and maybe I didn't do a good job of vocalizing it. I don't think a lot of other channels did a very good job of vocalizing it. Because at the end of the day, in the long run, the history of this hobby, all product will go up. But the conversation that doesn't take place enough is that for a period of time after a lot of products see big run-ups, sometimes we'll see corrections where they start to crash, but more times than not, we'll just see where those prices go a little sideways for a little while, or maybe a little stagnant. And a lot of these Sword and Shield booster boxes, they did just that. So Fusion Strike, you can literally see on every chart, when you look at the year chart, you can see exactly when they went out of stock on Pokemon Center, and you can see that huge spike up, and then for the next couple months, they just pretty much trended sideways. Obviously, Sword and Shield had a little decrease because there was a little restock on Pokemon Center, but all in all, it had a huge price increase, stayed stagnant. Next box, Lost Origin, again, you could almost see on the chart the exact second of the exact day where Lost Origin booster boxes went out of stock on Pokemon Center, and then they had their big run up, and then they've more or less stayed stagnant for the last 6 months. We saw a little restock hit distribution where prices went down a little bit, but they never didn't crash. They just, retraced a little bit just because of more stock. And then Chill and Rain, same thing. You could see exactly when it went out of stock. You're going to hear me repeat myself a lot. Chill and Rain, you could see exactly when it went out of stock on Pokemon Center. Huge price run up. And then from where it ran up to now, it's more or less stagnant. Brilliant Stars, a box that is actually underperforming what I expected. You can still see when it went out of stock because it had a huge run up. And then it's more or less trended sideways. It didn't have as big of a run up as some of these other ones did. But, yeah, it's one of those things. And then, listen, as is tradition on this channel, it's a new tradition. We're going to go back and talk about this. We're going to go back and talk about the title of this video, but because I have the screen up, we're going to do what is now tradition on this channel. We're going to go the Hills Wholesale Gaming. We're going to do what I call a heat check. How is this market doing? We're going to heat check ourselves. Let's look right here. We got Twilight Masquerade booster box cases on Hills Wholesale Gaming at $750. I'm going to tell you on every video, listen, I liked them when they were sub 600 on Hills. I liked them at 620, 630, 650, 700, 718. And listen, I still like Twilight Masquerade booster box cases at $750. Yes, you can get them cheaper other places, but you could go pick up a case right now. I liked it at all the prices, and yes, I still like Twilight Masquerade booster boxes at $750. But with that said, looking at all those prices, it kind of just shows you that a lot of these prices have more or less just stayed stagnant. And it's important to go back to the title of this video, is because no one has ever gone broke taking profits in this hobby. Is there comes a time when you see very, very clear indicators where prices have had crazy growth and then you think they're going to be stagnant. The four booster boxes I showed, Fusion Strike, Lost Origin, Chill and Rain, Brilliant Stars, one of the reasons that are keeping those prices stagnant is because there's a lot of supply of those booster boxes out there. So anybody that after that big run up happened, they took profits, they were able to take that money and invest it into other products in this hobby. Because what I said at the beginning of this video is I don't have infinite capital. So I just don't have capital forever, meaning I have to sell stuff to put into other places in this hobby. And there's just a lot of examples in very, very recent memory where you had very clear signs and everybody was in agreement, which is weird. Almost never are people 100% in agreement that something was going to happen, but it was a very clear. I spoke till I was blue in the face on how many videos I said, once this stuff goes out of stock on Pokemon Center, it's going to go up, and it did every single time. But then it all stayed stagnant. And when I turned on this live at the very beginning, somebody wrote a comment in the chat, shout out to Pokemon Collector. He said, and it's funny that he wrote this because it ties in perfectly with the topic of this video. He said, hopefully you bought in a case of Japanese 151 booster boxes. Market price is now $100 per box. And it's pretty crazy when you think about it too, because while after all these prices had gone up, they stayed stagnant for a while. During that few month timeline, you still could have sourced Japanese 151 booster boxes relatively cheap. The Greninja boxes, which if you've been following this channel, I'm going to have to go back and make a highlight reel of some of the stuff I said. So when the Greninja promo was announced, I showed it, like from the PokeBeach article, I went over that promo and I said I'm very, very interested to see what this Greninja promo from Shrouded Fable does, like when it gets released. And I said, and I want to see what first to market for that Greninja promo does. That was a very clear play. Greninja promo from Shrouded Fates. Everyone I know, and this is, I hate using the word everyone, but everyone I know made that Greninja play. Anybody that could get their hands on those boxes instantly sent them away for grading. Obviously, the PSA premium was huge. Rusty TCA Gaming opened up all his boxes. Rusty had a ton of listings. Rusty, as one seller, artificially for a very short amount of time, was able to artificially keep, Rusty, if you're out there, you might have missed the Greninja play a little bit because he artificially kept the price very low on that promo from CGC, not PSA. PSA still did their own premium, but the CGC premium stayed artificially low because Rusty had a big supply of them. And then if you look as of recently, of today, at the time of recording this video, Rusty ended up just selling one of those promos at auction, and it has like one of the highest sales for that card in a 10 because he got rid of the buy it now list and just list them at auction, which it's a fascinating. I love this market. I love absorbing this market. I love watching it. I love watching the craziness that happens of buy it nows versus auctions versus what is just true demand. I know some people are very anti Greninja. I don't really know why. I don't know why they're anti Greninja when it comes to this Shrouded Fable Black Star promo. I don't understand why people are anti-Greninja when it comes to Twilight Masquerade. I think Twilight Masquerade is the set. I'm telling you that. I told you on every single live for weeks now. And then at the same time, when all this money was stagnant in Fusion Strike, Lost Origin, Chill and Rain, Brilliant Stars, you could have been picking up cases of Twilight Masquerade. And you could have picked up Twilight Masquerade booster boxes for $5.50. I think the cheapest I ever showed was Hills at $5.96 for a case. So that's a little less than $100 per booster box. There's always plays to be made in this hobby. Now, I'm not talking shit about any of these. Sword and Shield is still a great timeline. I'm not talking shit about any of these sets. I think given enough time, they're all going to do fantastic. And if that is your one intention, is just to play the long game and the waiting game, do it. That's not who I'm talking about right now. I'm talking about the people that are just very actively engaged in whatever the current market is. And the best thing is, the current market changes on a day to day. The same way as Pokemon Collector talked about Japanese 151 booster boxes, I was making all my Japanese 151 booster box videos talking about the prices going down, because as the prices are going down, that's when I want to buy them. So since Japanese 151 has started going up, you're going to hear me talk about those less and less, which is usually the opposite of what you expect. You expect everybody to talk about stuff when it's going crazy and it's hype. It's like, oh, look at Japan, look how good Japanese 151's doing. That's not what I do. I want to talk about stuff when I think it's cheaper, when I think your best buying opportunities. That's when I'm going to talk about stuff the most. And then when stuff goes up in the end, like later, which is good because that's what I wanted to happen. That's why I talked about all this stuff when it was very cheap. But when it goes high, that's not where I'm talking about. The market's constantly changing, meaning you can like one product one day and then the next day you don't really care for that product. And the reason why I don't care about some of these products is because a lot of the prices and a lot of the gains that I think are going to be very short-term gains, or what we just saw in the examples of those Fusion Strike boxes, Chill and Rain, I knew it was going to be stagnant money for a little while. So it's one of those things. No one has ever gone broke taking profits. Now, there is what people are always afraid of, is that they're going to sell out of their position and then that product is just going to keep running up in perpetuity and it's just going to keep going up. And sure, you could have sold your Fusion Strike booster box at 220, 230, but well, what happens in 3 years from now if that 220 booster box is now worth 420? No, or 450, or let's say 440, so it doubles. It goes from, in 3 years time, we'll do small timelines. In 3 years' time, Fusion Strike goes from $220 a booster box to $440 booster box. It doubles the price. There is nothing wrong with that. That is very, 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 very solid gains. And to find something in 3 years' timeline going from 220 to 440, trust me, you won. If this was the stock market, which I hate comparing Pokemon to the stock market because it's not a fair one-to-one, but trust me, if you made that investment, you won. Nobody would ever bat an eye. Nobody would ever look twice on that. The only thing is I look at it as, and this is how disgustingly, and the word disgusting is a very correct usage. It is disgusting how overly rewarded we are constantly in this hobby. And I just feel that there are some products that you take that 220. There's a lot of people in this hobby that I believe in my heart of hearts, and I would almost trust them wholeheartedly. Meaning, if I gave somebody $220, somebody I know really well in this hobby, I think in 3 years' timeline, they would give me back way more than $440. I think they could do more than just double that money. Because this hobby, at the end of the day, has so many buying opportunities, selling opportunities, and you know, the thing is you have to look at stuff when it's cheap. And unfortunately, I don't know why, I don't understand like what the thought process is for the large majority of this hobby, is that when things are cheapest, where things being cheapest are the best buying opportunities. Again, Pokemon Collector talked about Japanese 151 booster boxes. There was a lot of prices that end up being really good. $50 a box is good, $55 is good, $60 good. Some people got $40 a box. All good prices. Even people that maybe didn't get quote-unquote good price entries, $70 a box. Now that they're up to $100, I haven't double-checked. So if Pokemon Collector's throwing out false numbers, that's going to make me look foolish because I didn't double-check. But I believe that number. It looks about right. So assume, you know, like, at the end of the day, all those prices end up being very good buying opportunities. And it's just, it brings back to the very, very, you pull back everything in this hobby and you just look at what you believe to be the truest fundamentals of this hobby. And for me, I think what just boils down to the truest fundamentals of this hobby is good sets with good chase with fan favorite Pokemon. Like, I think a lot of people, they want it to be, like, more nuanced than that. They don't want it to just, you can't just dumb down Pokemon into something so simple as good sets with, you know, big chases, fan favorite Pokemon. People don't want to hear that. But when you break down every single popular set, the truly popular ones, and you break it down and you say, well, why are any of those sets popular? Any of them. And it probably breaks down to fan favorite set, big chase card, there's probably some big chase card in there, and it probably has a fan favorite Pokemon in it. There are obviously outliers of sets, but then if you're going to start to talk about outliers of sets, really you're just talking about just the booster boxes that are more money than anything else, or like true rarity and scarcity of some of this product that helps inflate. I think about like Emergent Powers, Black and White, a lot of these sets, like where a lot of the price increase is just the rarity and scarcity factor of the sealed product itself. But when you look at like a lot of the big sets, or even a lot of the big modern sets, it's always the same thing. It's just a fan favorite set with a big chase card in it that has modern or fan favorite Pokemon in it. It's simple. This hobby is so simple, and I think the problem is I think people always want to look at this hobby and think that maybe it's not hard to navigate. Like they don't want, or maybe they don't want it to be. I think maybe that's it. I don't think people want this hobby to be easy to navigate, but I think it truly is. And it's one of the sayings that I think it was, maybe I'm going to give him too much credit, but I think it was Dan Ketchum Collectibles, invented this term, or maybe I invented the term. At this point, I don't even know. I'm not going to try to take the credit, but the moderner, the better. And it's just the truth. In this hobby, the moderner, the better. We're already starting to see like what's happening with Stellar Crown, obviously most recent set, but you're looking on PokemonCenter.com. I think Possum Bud made a video. Listen, I don't get the buyout of Pokemon Center. I don't think that's what it is. I don't understand if it's market manipulation on the behalf of Pokemon, but I'm going to be honest with you. And this is my honest opinion, I do not believe that Stellar Crown booster boxes at MSRP of $161 are selling out on PokemonCenter.com when you could go on eBay right now and you don't even have to like search for the lowest deal, and you could probably pick up a Stellar Crown booster box for like $102 right now. At the time of recording this video, feel free to go on eBay and see if you could pick up a $102 booster box. That means you're not going on any different websites, you're not looking on your Safari zones, you're not looking on any of like the bigger websites that are usually cheaper. You're just blindly going into eBay. You could pick it up for around that $100 mark, and that is not without finding the good deals. Trust me, the good deals work there. I'll go on Hills right now. So if you want to pick up Stellar Crown, let's see, Stellar Crown on Hills Wholesale Gaming, what is it at? Stellar Crown booster box on Hills is $99. For a case is $594. So here you go, $99 on Hills. I didn't look very hard. I just happen to have the tab still up from when we did the heat check with Twilight Masquerade. I don't believe they're selling out on PokemonCenter.com. Now, as for Pokemon Center ETBs, obviously Pokemon ETBs being exclusive to PokemonCenter.com, having the stamp promo, all that I could believe. Maybe the 3-pack blisters, maybe people just wanting to pick up the product, but I don't know what's going on with Pokemon. I don't know if I think we're going to give Pokemon way too much credit in this point if we say Pokemon is somehow like manipulating the market, trying to increase secondary market values, and somehow in order for them to do that, they're using PokemonCenter.com as like some tool or some piece of this machine in order to make that happen. That is really going out on the limb of tinfoil hat, tinfoil fedora, whatever you want to call it. That's going out on a ledge that I don't think I'm ready to quite get there yet with why that's happening, but it gets people talking, no denying that. I've seen a lot of people in a lot of different Discords, Reddit groups. Obviously, Opossum Blood made that video. Couldn't really tell if his video was truthful or if it was him trolling a little bit, but it is fascinating. And listen, is there a very, very small shred of possibility that the hobby is just back to Logan Paul S. crazy boom November 2020 timeline where people are going on PokemonCenter.com because they only know PokemonCenter.com to pick up their product? Maybe. I would put the percentage of that at 0.05%. Like, maybe that's the likelihood, but if that was the case, then everything is just to the moon at this point. All right. That was my rant. So now if you guys don't know, I usually do my rant at the beginning. If you have any questions, now's your time. There's not a lot of stuff written in the chat. I'm going to let you in on a little secret that's not really a secret. This is at the time of recording this video, is the first night of the NFL season. The Chiefs are playing the Baltimore Ravens. I do want to watch that game. I'm sorry, I do want to watch it. So I am going to cut this a short live, but I'm going to make you a deal. And this, you can hold me to this one. Because I'm going to probably end up cutting this. We're going to still read through the chat. I'm going to answer guys any questions that you have. But to make it up for you, I will guarantee you that I'll have a live on tomorrow night, Friday, and I will do my best to bring somebody on and just have a conversation with somebody. So it's been a while since I've had a guest on this channel. There's a few people that I haven't reached out to yet, but names that instantly come to mind, people that I kind of want to check in with. I did reach out to Colson the other day. Do me a favor. Go ping Colson. Go to the Spicy Boys Discord. Go to the Professor Oak Discord. Go wherever you got to go. Ping Colson. Be like, hey, Colson, answer PK's message. And then he's not to say he's going to be the one that's going to come on tomorrow night, but Nick Slavich said, PK, I heard you were inviting me on this live. Is that true? Nicky, you didn't check your messages? Oh, I'm sorry, buddy. Number one bot in the game, Drew. Good to see you. Aaron, good to see you. Let's see. People are saying number one mod in the game, Drew. Yes. Pokey Steve said, I thought you were early. Said he's just late. Never quite early. I'm always right on time. Mela said, I've been buying CGC Pristine Crown Zenith cards. I'm not a buyer of CGC cards. I'm not a grader of CGC cards anymore. But listen, if you like CGC, more power to you. I am a PSA guy, but so I haven't graded any Crown Zenith cards with CGC, but I would encourage you, if you really do like CGC, or if you really like PSA or Beckett or SGC or whoever you like as your preferred grading company, I do always recommend that if you've never graded cards yourself, that you should try. And that goes to everybody out there. I'm talking to you now. Yes, you out there who are watching this PK live and you have never graded a card. Send your first submission out. Send it out tonight. As soon as this live's over, go on your computer, create a PSA account, create a CGC account, and get your first ever submission out there. If it's 20 cards, send 20 cards. Do it. Do it. I know everybody out there has at least one submission. Or if you're out there listening to this video and you have a PSA submission and you've been dragging your feet for the last 3 to 4 months for whatever reason, you don't know why, send out a submission. Stop holding on these cards. The market's still hot right now. Take advantage of it. Pokey Steve says, I took a profit. I'm moderately confident about sold my Pokemon Center 151 ETB today for 145. Do you think the odds it comes back in stock, PK? Ooh, that's a good question. We are going to see, well, not to say we are in the middle of an English 151 reprint. I don't know if Pokemon Center 151 ETBs were on the docket for a reprint. I would say I'm leaning towards no. I think more likely than not what you would see is you just see a restock probably of like booster bundles on Pokemon Center. I think would be more likely. So, hey, if Pokemon Center 151 ETBs do go back up on the Pokemon Center, they could be good buys, but I'm leaning towards no. Unfortunately, I just think that Pokemon, when it comes to, very specific products like that, it seems like they're kind of being more or less one and done, or they're printing just a ton of them. Eric Cabrera said, what set so far in Scarlet and Violet do you think will perform good long-term? Twilight Masquerade. And what set are you looking forward to in Scarlet and Violet that were announced? Team Rocket set. Oh, come on, Eric. Those are easy ones. Team Rocket set, obviously I'm looking forward to. And I think Twilight Masquerade is going to do phenomenal long-term. I think it's going to do phenomenal. If it gets a reprint, I'm going to buy the reprint. I don't know. Something's going on with reprints where things aren't going crazy. So, Pokey Dollar Mart, he said, yo, PK, last week I said the stamped Umbreon is a sleeper, and you thought I meant the GameStop promo, but he meant the Europe, gotcha. So, he said the European exclusive Obsidian Flame stamp, yeah, so even more slept on than the game stamp. So yes, also very good promo. So that GameStop promo also has like the European one that actually physically says Obsidian Flames on it. Yes, that is a sleeper. Oh God, I don't. Should I read the bottom of this or should I just read it? All right, Cheval's wrote, I've been watching PK since day one and followed all his advice. That explains why I never took a profit. Gotta hold them all. I'm broke. Help. Yes. What is it? The Michael Scott meme? I declare bankruptcy. Yes, Cheval's. So Cheval's did take my advice a long time ago. See, this is where people that are newer to this channel don't understand this. There was a period of time in the history, which is this channel, long forgotten to the annals of time, yes. But it's out there. It's in the Library of Alexander. It's in the non-burnt section of the library. There was a period of time where I was very, very pro CGC. I thought CGC was going to bring competition into this market. I thought low grading prices. PSA was pissing everybody off. Crazy turnaround times. Like customer service was getting tough. I was very, very pro CGC. Cheval's, I think, sent some cards away to CGC because I coaxed him in that direction, and for that I am forever sorry to you, Cheval's. So yes. See, a lot of people don't know that. People just think PK was never a CGC fan, but unfortunately, and I mean this truthfully, unfortunately that is not the case. Fatbelly Collect says, it is easy to move loose modern packs to vendors at Collecticon, ? Yeah, super easy. Now, if you're going to move to a vendor, you're going to probably be looking, it depends, 80%. I feel like if you shop around, you'll find the one vendor that will buy at 80%, yeah. But if you were moving loose packs, there'll definitely be somebody there to buy them. Now, I would say shop around, though. Don't go to the first table and then somebody tell you they're paying 70% market on seal packs. Go shop around. Go to all the tables. If you went to my table, I was paying, I was actually paying 100% at the end of the event because I wanted to pick up some packs. So, yeah, the later in the day, the better, and the later in the event, the better, because you got to keep in mind the people that are selling, when you go up to their tables with products like that, two things are going to happen. One, they're going to want to replenish their supply because they've been selling all weekend and they're probably now low because they've moved through a lot of this inventory. But number one, and this is the most important thing, is at the end of the event, all those vendors have the most money in their pocket that they've had all weekend. So the best time to sell is definitely towards the end, especially on a product like that. But yeah, Fatbelly Collects, you can definitely move Seal Modern at Collecticons, no question about it. Let's see. So Pokedalmar said, also double hot take. PK1, Temple will be Scarlet and Violet's Chillin' Rain. I can see that. That's not too crazy of a hot take. Number 2, Legendary Bird variants in Chillin' Rain, Legendary Beast variants in Temple. Okay, yeah, I see what you're saying. I think that's a good. Okay, I could see where Temple Forces can be the equivalent of Chillin' Rain. Okay, I could see that. And then I would say Obsidian Flames is... I don't want to call it Darkness Ablaze because there's only the one Charizard VMAX from Darkness Ablaze, so I would probably actually lean Obsidian Flames is the Vivid Voltage. Because there's more than just the one Charizard, there's multiple Charizards in it. Now, the Rebel Clash is Scarlet and Violet base. Paldea Evolved would be Fusion Strike. Twilight Masquerade, people don't want to hear me say Evolving Skies, but it's the Evolving Skies. I'm going to leave it at that so people get triggered. But yeah, I could definitely see like Stellar Crown, which is just recent released. I can see it being an Astral Radiance S set, meaning Astral Radiance didn't have like that crazy big chase card yet. It had the Machamp, Altar, but it was more like the meat of Astral Radiance. I can see where Stellar Crown can definitely be more an Astral Radiance, where I would like to see like a Surgeon Sparks be more of the Lost Origin-esque. Because, yeah, I think Stellar Crown is a fun set. I think a lot of people are going to want to open it. that Bulbasaur and that Squirtle, those are going to be big chases. That Squirtle card's going to be holding a pretty high dollar amount, especially with the beautiful artwork. But I would definitely say that Stellar might lean more towards the Astral Radiance. And yeah, Surgeon Sparks might be like the Lost Origin. So like that bigger set. And then if Team Rocket somehow comes sneaking through, maybe that will be the true Evolving Skies. But who knows? I'd rather keep people triggered than make people happy. The kid said, PK, please don't cut it short tonight. I have to work tomorrow night. I'm sorry, buddy. I do have to cut it a little short. But if you guys ask questions, so in theory, if you guys keep asking questions and I'm never able to get to the bottom of the chat, then I don't end this live. So really, the length of this live, the ball is in your court right now. Or because I want to watch football, the ball is on your field right now. Jimbo Slice, PK, are you buying English 151 booster bundles when they pop in stock on Walmart and or Best Buy? Yes, I am. I also picked up some just like random 151 packs that I was able to source relatively cheap. So yeah, I think 151 is a good buy right now. I think this is the lowest we're going to see 151 at. I don't think... Listen, I could be wrong. I'm fine with being wrong, but I think this is the last reprint for 151. I think after this reprint comes out, all this product eventually hits the market. This is the lowest you're going to see it. And then eventually, when supply starts to dry up, you're going to see prices start to increase. So if you don't have your positions of 151, right now I think there's no better time than the absolute present to be acquiring those positions. Meaning, if you are sitting back on 151 and you are waiting for the next reprint, I would say to be very cautious with something like that because I don't foresee another reprint. I think this is the last reprint. And listen, if I'm wrong about that and there is a reprint of 151 in another year from now, I'm fine with being wrong. There's just some things that you're going to speculate in the hobby where I'm going to be fine with being wrong. But yeah, I'm definitely picking up 151 right now. Cheval says Coulson left the hobby and is way happier. 10 out of 10 would recommend. So Lions Don Gaiman said, do you have any tips on buying raw vintage on eBay? Yeah, it's one word. It's the one word that I've said probably on this channel more than anything else. 4 letters, time. That's it. That's the only advice I give you on picking up good raw singles on eBay. Time. It's just going to take a lot of time. You're going to have to search. You're going to have to, look at fronts, backs. It's time. That's all it is. Figure out good search terms. Know what you're looking at. Figure out what is it just a card like the card name, set name, card number. Find all the bad listings. Find the ones that are near mint. Get really, really good at understanding condition. Meaning, if you've never sent a submission to PSA, I'm going to say it again. I know I said it earlier in today's video. Send out a submission. Send out a submission and get a 7. I know that's probably not advice you're going to get from many people, but I'm going to tell you, getting a 7 and figuring out why did you get a 7 is going to be the best, most valuable $15 you'll ever spend on this hobby. Spend the $15 to get a 7 so you can look at it and say, why did this card get a 7? Understand the grading scales, and then when it comes time to pick up raw singles on eBay, this is a problem with raw vintage. You're going to see a lot of junk. I promise you. You're going to see a lot of junk, and you're going to see a lot of items that you think are too good to be true, and unfortunately they are too good to be true. When you're coming against the same binder collection over and over and over again, and somebody staged that binder collection, and you look at that seller, there's a few binder sellers that I just know their listings because I could instantly recognize them, and I'm like, oh, go look at their other sold items, and it's all random binders. They're just putting these binders together to trick Timmies out there. I mean, that's the truth. So in order to pick up good raw vintage singles on eBay, it's just time. And that's something time is your most valuable resource in this hobby, so it can be a little disheartening when you spend an hour or two on eBay trying to source good near mint vintage hollows and you just don't come across them. It's the same thing with Bai. I know a lot of people don't want to use the B word out there, but Bai, when it comes to Japanese singles and not just English, you're going to find a lot of vintage things there, or a lot of good vintage singles there. One of the good things, too, is one of the good advice I give you is you find somebody who is selling some really near mint vintage singles. See if this is something that they've just do on a one-off thing, or if this is something they do all the time, because if it's something they don't normally do, it probably means that they're sitting on a bunch more, and they'll probably either have a bunch of listings up at one time, or they're going to be posting a bunch of listings, because they don't usually sell Pokemon cards. My best luck I've had is when I come across a random listing, I go look at the seller's other items, and you can tell they're just are selling their childhood binder, and then you just buy 5 or 10 or 15 or 20, or sometimes you buy all their listings, every single one that they have up, and you get super lucky. I have some sellers that I literally just wait for them to post Pokemon cards, like some Skyridge cards and stuff. They have a binder. I've reached out to them via private message, never responded back, but I still see like super near mint cards once in a while trickle onto these accounts, and as soon as they do, I scoop them up. But all that is time. I don't have some magic wand I can wave where you can just go on eBay and source a ton of vintage hollows in near mint condition super easy. It just unfortunately doesn't exist. Let's see. So Jimmy Blake said, grading from outside the U.S. is hard, especially here in the U.K. Yeah, that is tough, Jimmy. I do hope that when Nat Turner was on, he did mention having like a UK shipping center. I really, really do hope that PSA eventually rolls that out. I know he originally mentioned London, but then I saw a lot of people in the comments saying with Brexit, meaning if you're not in the UK, there's going to be a lot of fees and taxes for import because the UK is no longer part of Brexit, and I don't really understand that because I'm from America, but I understand there's a lot of like logistic issues there where people are really upset. But maybe you can have like a London PSA distribution hub, same thing as we had in Japan. You know, Japan had the same thing where Japan had their own PSA hub, and now the PSAs in Japan is great in their own cards, but for a while they were just a hub. Hopefully they do that with the UK. Hopefully maybe they add one to France or Germany or one of those other countries. So where are you in the UK? I don't even know, Jimmy. Cheval says his E-Series investments will bounce back with the 50th anniversary. Yes. He just got to sit tight and stomach the 10% weekly loss in value on them. Yes. Pokey Steve said, I just sold one piece PSA 10 for $875. Nice. He said, I encouraged him to grade. Well, Pokey Steve, I'm very happy that you graded. I'm happy get your bag. Sometimes it's okay. When people want to get their bag, get your bag. Cheval says, I've never recovered from that CDC LPK recommended. Been homeless and watching right now thanks to free Wi-Fi at Mickey D's. Yes. Sorry, Chevals. Number one mod in the game said he'll give Chevals his Wi-Fi password. Basic Trainer said, what's the most efficient way to comp raw cards? Thousands. Basic, you should know. I feel like Basic, your brain. That would be my answer to you. Eric says, one more question. I slept on Twilight, but bought 10 cases of Temporal Forces for $5.50 each. What do you think about long-term performance of that set? I mean, I don't think it's going to be Twilight Masquerade performance. I don't hate Temporal, though. I just think, in my opinion, if I had to buy 10 cases of Twilight or 10 cases of Temporal, I would have went with Twilight, but that's not really the question you're asking. So what do I think about the long-term potential on the set? I think it will do well, but I think that much money in Temple, you could probably spread that money out I mean, so how much is, so let's go on Hills. Twilight Masquerade, or sorry, not Twilight Masquerade, Temple Forces. What is Temple Forces currently selling at on Hills Wholesale Gaming? So Temple Forces booster case, $594. So, and then they have it for $99 a box, so call it $600 a case. $6,000 you have tied up in Temporal. I mean, you are still pretty low. You probably got in lower than that, I'm going to guess, without actually knowing your price entry point. Your price entry is probably 84, 85, because you picked up so much, you probably found a really good deal. Your buy-in's 85. I mean, it's tough. The problem is I'm so blinded. Sometimes you get blinded. You get blinded by the light. I got blinded by the twilight. That's a good question. Ask me again next week, because give me a week to think about that. Fat Belly Collect says, how likely would I be to find a Gold Star guard in the garden I'm looking for at CollectorCon? I see all modern cards from vendors on YouTube. If you walk into a CollectorCon, I could with 100% certainty, almost guarantee, you will find a few Gold Star Zards. I've never been to a CollectorCon personally where there wasn't multiple Gold Star Zards at it. Now, are you going to be able to walk in and get that thing below market value? Probably not. Is it going to be a show-off piece for some of these vendors? Yes, but I guarantee you will have a shot at a Gold Star Zard in both English and Japan if you go into a CollectorCon. Castle Strong said he pulled the trigger on an SIR Charizard. Local store had it for $130. Oh, that's not bad. $130 and was able to talk him down the $110 cash since it had whitening on the back corner. I don't know, since I needed a binder copy. $151 is only rising. So I don't love spending close to market on binder copies, but if you're happy with that price, $110, go for it, man. I would be interested on eBay. Let's see, eBay. Let's see what, so, 151 Charizard. PSA 8. I would be curious what a PSA 8 Zard, let's see. Let's see. So, you got an English. Again, I didn't really spend a lot of time. There's probably one cheaper, but I'm looking at a $113.99 for a PSA 8 or best offer. Looking at the back, yeah, got a little corner ding. Yeah, I mean, I don't hate that price. Let's see if there's any 7s. PSA. I mean, you got anybody hitting a PSA 7 is just having really bad luck, especially with modern print quality and stuff. But yeah, I mean, let's buy it now. $113. You probably could have picked it up at auction cheaper. I don't hate it. Hey, if you're happy with it, man, go for it. Let's see. Let's see. Cheval says, PK, how's the family doing? You named your second son Drew, right? No, I named my second son #1 mod in the game. Named him after Drew, but his name is #1 mod. Let's see. Jester says, gotta be quick with the clicks too. I've been looking at a picture as soon as listed, boom, sold. Let's see. So, Henny Fine Art says, look at that name. He says, Henny Fine Art. He said, dude, love the Banksy. My favorite. Yes. That was a thumbnail. I did like it. Matthew said, do you think the new Rocket set will feature Gen 1 and 2 Pokemon similar to Team Rocket Returns? Yes and no. I think Pokemon definitely knows what the secret sauce is to make these sets super collectible, super desirable, is to have it be very Gen 1, Gen 2 focused. How many Charizards have we seen? I'm not even going to start to do it, but from XY to present. So XY Sun and Moon, Sword and Shield to Scarlet and Violet. How many Charizards have been in how many sets? And there is a reason why Pokemon keeps going back to the original 151. So yes, I think there will be a strong Gen 1, Gen 2 like presence, but I also think that Pokemon will also sprinkle in some newer generation Pokemon. You know, especially when you think about newer generation like big threes. So like, you know, I would like to see some, you know, badass Team Rocket like newer generation Pokemon. I mean, I guess it's not really that old or that new at this time, but Mimikyu is Gen 7. And who is Mimikyu, like, who's his trainer in Pokemon? Well, it's Jessie is Mimikyu's trainer. And like the Jesse's Mimikyu has a huge story, especially when you look at like the Sun and Moon TV show. There's a huge character arc for that Jesse's Mimikyu and his absolute dying hatred of Pikachu. And Mimikyu is still technically a Gen 7 Pokemon. I know Gen 7 at this point feels really, really long ago, but it's still technically a Gen 7 Pokemon. First time we ever saw a Mimikyu even in a set was Guardians Rising, and then we didn't see our first ever full art Mimikyu card until Lost Thunder with the Rainbow Mimikyu. So yeah, there's definitely some newer Pokemon that are still Team Rocket S type Pokemon, so I could definitely see them sprinkling in some newer gen Pokemon for sure. So Chase Ead said, where or how do you recommend selling sealed product like tins, boxes, sets? No one in the group seemed to be interested unless they're at ridiculously low prices. Unfortunately, tins and boxes are some of the hardest products to sell, especially when it comes to tins, because depending on what tins you're talking about, a lot of tins get reprints. So the contents of tins are going to sometimes be unknown to people. And you're never going to be able to sell a tin as having call it the more chase your packs. You're always going to, so unfortunately for a lot of tins, you're going to have to break them down and sell the packs individually. If you know for a fact, because you know when you source that tin, you know where you bought it from, maybe you bought a case, maybe you opened one of them, and you know for a fact that your tin is the one that has Cosmic Eclipse packs in it and Team Up packs. You know for a fact. Yes, this tin, I know I bought it on the store in 2018. It was reprinted in 2020, and it didn't have Team Up and Cosmic Eclipse packs, but 2019. I bought this tin off the shelf November 2019. I know for a fact it has Cosmic Eclipse and it has Team Up packs in it. You're going to have to open up that tin, because the only way you're going to really pull out your true expected value is to sell it raw. Or sell those packs raw. Now, if you have the reprint tin, then you could start to play the, ooh, I know this has the reprinted packs in it. Well, the older ones had Team Up and Cosmic Eclipse. I know that this one has Brilliant Stars and Rebel Clash packs. Then it makes more sense to sell the packs. Now, for boxes, again, boxes are a little different because you can now see the packs in it, but boxes are tough to ship, man. My recommendation to you is, you've gotten it out of your system. You've bought your tins, you bought your boxes. Try to stay away from boxes and tins for the foreseeable future, because you're going to run into this issue of selling these. They are very, very e-liquid, and for a lot of times you're going to have to look down and just cannibalize on down these products when you take into fact in shipping costs and getting right size boxes. And a lot of boxes too, what really keeps some of the value for some of these boxes are the promos. So if it makes sense for you to open that box and grade the promo, do it. But unfortunately, I would just say stay away from those products. Stick with the more blue chip of sealed product like booster boxes and stuff. And I'm sure if you're sitting on a bunch of tins and random collection boxes, I'm sure you could add up the value of all those tins and all those collection boxes, and you might be sitting with a couple $100 in front of you. And think about the timeline you bought those boxes or tins, and think, well, what booster box was available at that time? Hopefully you didn't pick up those collection boxes or tins August 2021, because unfortunately in August 2021 the most current, most newest, most modern set was Evolving Sky. So sometimes, if you're spending $20, $30, $40 on collection boxes or tins, it might be worth it for you to just splurge and spend that extra $60 and buy a booster box. So I don't have a great recommendation except for cannibalizing down that product. The Frisky Squid said, I sold at ridiculously low for 5-pack Paldea tins and 4-pack Crown Zenith boxes. Sold for about $14 each, but my buy price was $10. Just all depends on where you buy price. Yeah, that is a very good caveat that I wish I did mention. If you're getting tins or boxes at disgustingly low prices, like there was a lot of the Costco deals and stuff. There was a one person who did it. Sorry, I'm going to forget who did it. I literally shared the spreadsheet on one of my lives, but whoever broke down all those, I think it was Sam's Club or Costco, they got great prices for all these collection boxes. They broke them down and they sold them all the Dan Ketchum collectibles at 80% TCG player prices, and he sold, it was over $10,000 worth of packs. I think he like instantly made thousands of dollars, like instantly. As instant as he went into the store, they wheeled out a pallet of these things. He loaded them up into his vehicle, went home, broke them down, and then sold them all to Dan Ketchum Collectibles. Maybe a 24-hour turnaround time, and he made thousands with an S doing that play. So yes, there is a caveat. If you're able to buy these collection boxes or tins super cheap, then yeah, you are doing the right play. Katie is in the chat. Katie, you are late to the chat. I did miss you. I somehow still managed to go 51 minutes. But Katie, good to see you. She says, was out filming some clown content in a parade. Clown content in a parade. Okay. Let's see. Anyways, guys, good to see you. Katie, sorry I gotta go. You could go back, watch the beginning of the video. It's just me ranting, talking into the void, talking into the nothingness at the beginning of the video. But for everybody that joined in the chat, especially to the mods, #1 mod in the game, Drew, always appreciate you, buddy. Basic Training, appreciate you. Chevals, appreciate you. Sorry I lost you all that money in your collecting journey, especially at CGC. But for everybody else that joined in, appreciate every single one of you guys. Writing comments, joining the chat. You guys are the reason I do this. You're the reason I continue doing this, and you are the reason why I will never stop doing it. That one you could take to the grave. But as always, guys, appreciate every single one of you. If you are not following me on Twitter, Drew just dropped Twitter, not Twitter. I don't have Twitter. If you're not following me on Instagram, follow me on Instagram. Drew just dropped a link. There's also a link for my Instagram account in the description of this video. And if you guys ever need to get a hold of me, Instagram is the best way. But as always, guys, appreciate every single one of you. And as always, I'll catch you on the next video.